Welcome back to Beyond the Script. Today, we're going to dive into something that shows up every single time that you're on the edge of growth. It's the resistance of your old identity, the idea that that identity is better than what's to come, and just all of the ways that the version of you fights tooth and nail to stay relevant and to hinder you from moving into something new or into stepping into a new identity. So, if you've ever felt like you were taking two steps forward and then getting pulled back into old habits, old patterns, or even old self talk, this episode is absolutely for you. So let's dive into why old identities resist. What is the resistance of this change? So, your current identity is built on survival. It's a set of beliefs, habits, perceptions that once kept you safe, accepted, or successful in some ways. When you start changing or stepping into a new role, a new purpose, a new version of yourself, the old identity sees it as a threat because its whole job has been to keep you safe. So when you start doing something new, it begins to feel threatened. And it's not to say that the old self is wrong or broken or, out to get you per se. It's that it's wired for familiarity. And familiarity feels safe even if it no longer serves you because it's predictable. And humans, I've said this before, but humans love things that are predictable. So even if the old identity is keeping you stuck in chaos and in whirlwind and in a state of misery because of these old habits and things that need to be let go of, even though you don't feel good, it's a predictable misery. And because we like predictability and it's familiar, the old identity will fight to stay there. And so when you commit to a new identity, whether it's going to be entrepreneurship, creativity, leadership, sobriety, whatever it is that goes against a belief that you have always had or a pattern that you have always operated in, the old one is going to pull out every strategy to stay alive. And it is smart. It will trick you in many, many types of ways in order for you to fall back into it. My biggest thing, the way that I get tricked, is curiosity and self doubt. Those are big for me. But here are some of the ways that it can show up for you. Resistance can sound, like I said, like self doubt. Self doubt would be something like, well, who do you think you are? Or what makes you qualified to do that? Or why do you feel special enough to achieve that, right? Different things like that. It can also look like procrastination, perfectionism, or even sudden waves of exhaustion when you're about to do the thing that would move you forward. How many times have you been close to your goals and all of a sudden you're like, I'm so tired. I need to take a nap. I need to rest, right? And yes, sometimes we do need that rest in order for our creativity to be reborn and refreshed. But other times, that's like an old identity slash ego trick of coming in to say that you're feeling exhausted and that you need to rest when really what you actually need to do is keep going because you're right there. You're so close. And this is what I mean when I say that old identity is smart. It will come to you in ways that you don't really see coming. You're able to justify it because you can feel it in your body. It can also show up in relationships. People who are comfortable with your old identity may unintentionally reinforce it because your change will challenge their comfort zone, right? I've seen this a lot on my sobriety journey where people, and you hear this on people who have been sober for a long time too, when it comes to like changing into that identity, is people who are comfortable with, your drinking identity, for example, may, remind you like, oh, it wasn't that bad, or you're so much fun when you drink, or all of these things, right? And it's not to say that it's with ill intent. It's just that it unintentionally reinforces it because it's a reflection back to them. Like when you change, then they have to take a look inside, right? So it's a type of projection happening. But when it shows up like that for you, well, then your old identity can be like, you know what? it was fine. Everything was fine, right? I use a sobriety example, but there's so many other ones with that one and how it shows up with people. It can show up in entrepreneurship as well. When you tell somebody that you're going to go take a leap and start a business, right? Or you're going to quit your job and do these things that are outside of the norm, people may come up to you and be like, well, why would you ever leave that job? Like, you have a good salary, you have a flexible schedule, right? And throw all of these things at you, again, not with ill intent per se, that leaves you questioning, like, you know what, maybe this isn't the right move for me. Maybe I'm not supposed to step into this. Maybe I am just supposed to stay where I'm at. But that again is the old identity utilizing its tricks and all of that in order to keep you where you're at because the growth is uncomfortable. The truth is that the louder your identity fights you, the louder that your identity starts to, give you these different tricks that make you question if what you're doing is worth it, the closer that you are to a breakthrough. And I like to say, too, even like the sexier that these excuses sound and the more believable they are, the closer you are to a breakthrough. And your ego can sense that, your old identity can sense that, and that's why it's going to fight harder and harder and harder to keep you where you are, because that's what it thinks is safe, even if you at the core in your spirit know it's no longer what you need. So how do we navigate this transition? What do we do? How do we like move through this, right? The key is not to fight the old identity. And I know that probably sounds crazy, but you don't want to fight it. Like, it's a part of you, right? It's still who you are. It's still who you were. It will always have been a part of you. It will always have been a chapter in your story. What you want to do is you want to acknowledge it and honor what it once did for you, and then consciously choose different. I like to describe this as like showing the ego new beliefs, right? And so when you acknowledge it and honor what it did for you, then you show it new proof as to why this newer identity is safe to embody, right? What you will be gaining instead of what you're losing. Once you start to show what you're gaining and allow your old identity to see how the new identity, even though it's there to replace it, it's also there to better you and it's safe to embody it, then you'll start to like ease into the transition a little bit better. Identity work is what is I like to call declaration work, because you start by saying, I am this now, right? Before you believe it, the words will shape reality. You start to embody the I am. And as you embody the I am, it's like wearing a mask, right? You're putting on a new mask, and it's going to feel a little funny, in the beginning, and then it's going to start to fit and it's going to start to mold and it's going to start to become who you are. But at first it's going to feel weird. I said this about, you know, when people like on any type of journey, really, you start to say, well, I'm an entrepreneur. And it's hard to really feel that when you're still in a 9 to 5. But the more you embody being the entrepreneur, then the more it's going to start to feel normalized, right? The more it's going to start to fit within the identity, and you will start to believe it by continuously declaring it. When you embody this new identity, your decisions, your habits, and your environment start to shift with it, then the less power the old one has. Because going back to what I said a moment ago, you are showing new proof and new beliefs to the old identity of why we're embodying the new identity and how we're embodying the new identity. Decisions, habits, environment, all of these things will start to change. And it's the change on one hand that keeps the old identity so panicked and so, trying to keep you where you were because it senses the change coming. But the more that you embody and act on the changes ahead of you, the more you change your decisions, you generate new habits, you start to shift your environment, then the more normalized it's going to feel in the new identity. And this is where doing things like journaling, meditating, and self reflection matter, because you get to anchor into who you're becoming and not necessarily who you have been. Anytime you shift an identity, it's always nice to like write a letter to the old identity and let them know, let her know how she has helped you along the way and why she can't come to this next chapter of you. Almost like a friendly, loving goodbye. So, the biggest takeaway that I have for you is your old identity is not your enemy. It's outdated programming that's just trying to keep its place. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you, in what it perceives to be safe, but it's not your enemy. So the more compassion you have for it, then you have more freedom to create and step fully into a new version of you. You have more freedom to become, essentially, which was actually an episode I did, I think 3 episodes back, was like the becoming. So whenever you feel the pull next time of who you used to be, take it as confirmation. Don't take it as something that you need to run from or that is, trying to cause you pain or anything like that. Just take it as confirmation that you are on the right track. And the fight is proof that your new identity is already right here. It's just waiting for you to like fully step in and embody it. So, if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with somebody who was on the edge of change. If you want to keep going deeper into this kind of work, then, be sure to follow me on Instagram at underscore the Nikki Lynn, where you can check out some of my digital products that are around this. And then Beyond the Script comes out every Tuesday on Apple and Spotify. So make sure you are tuned in so that you don't miss out. Until the next one, I will talk to you all next week.